Good morning, class 9 students. I welcome you all on this online platform provided by Jagrati Classes. We were doing chapter 10th of class 9th, that is gravitation. So we have discussed in our introductory video what do you understand by the terms gravitation. Then I have also told you a basic difference between the two general terms you use commonly in the life, that is gravity and gravitation. These both the terms have the same meaning, but only a slight difference is present. Gravitation is what? Any two objects present in the universe, they attract each other by a force which is known as gravitation force. But between the two objects, I told you that any two objects present in the universe, both of these apply a force on each other, and this force is known as gravitation force. So everything we have discussed, I am just giving you a revision, but I told you if one of the object is earth here, if we take between these two, if we consider one object to be earth, then now this force would be known as gravity. So this is the basic difference between gravitation and gravity, that if you have two different objects, the force would be known as gravitation, but you have one object to be earth, then this force is known as gravity. Okay? Then we discussed a universal law of gravitation. I told you the statement of universal law, it is quite important. Then we also saw the derivation of universal law of gravitation and the formula. The statement was the magnitude of universal law of gravitation, it is directly proportional to the product of mass and inversely proportional to the square of distance between both the masses or both the objects. So this was the statement, and accordingly from the statement itself, I told you a very simple derivation, and at last when we remove that proportionality sign, we got the formula G m1 m2 divided by r square. So this was the formula which we obtained for the gravitation or gravity force, you can say. Okay, we'll say that this gives you the magnitude of gravitation force present between any two objects which are having a mass m1 and m2. The mass of the objects are m1 and m2. And if you measure the distance between the centers of both the objects, the distance would be r. So we say that force, gravitation force, it depends on the product of both the masses, and it inversely depends on the square of distance between both the masses. So this gives you the value of gravitational force, and then we found the value of G. G here is known as what? G is called universal gravitational constant. It has a constant or fixed value, and the value of G is 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. I told you how to derive the unit for this G. Okay, we have done this. That is how to make the unit of any physical quantity. I am describing it from the chapter motion itself. So then we have the further applications of this law. Before moving on to the use or applications of this law, what we have is, you have to find now the force of gravity. Force of gravity means, if I tell you that you have one of the mass to be object earth, that is one of the object which you have, the object is earth, then what would you call the force? Then the force would be known as force of gravity. So now we'll be dealing with what is the magnitude of force of gravity. So for gravity, what you have is, you have any one object, and this object is present on earth. When we consider any one of the object to be earth, we call it to be the force of gravity or gravity force. Now let us consider that this is our earth, and this is any object of mass small m present on the surface of earth. Now we say that the mass of the earth is capital M, and the distance between the object and the earth would be equal to the radius. So we know the formula is F is equals to G m1 m2 divided by r square, that is the distance between both the objects. Now you have to find the gravitational force. So G would be the constant or the same value. Mass of the first object is small m, mass of the second object, which is our earth, it is capital M. And the distance between both the objects is capital R, which is the radius of earth. Here capital M represents mass of earth and capital R represents the radius of earth, okay, which would be r square. So this is the formula for gravity, or the force of gravity which is exerted by the earth on any of the object which is present on the surface of the earth. So now you get the formula F equals to G. It can also be written as G capital M small m upon r square. It's one and the same thing. So this gives you the magnitude of gravity force exerted by the earth on any of the objects. Now you have to remember this formula. If you are asked write the universal law of gravitation, then you will be writing F equals to G m1 m2 upon r square. Okay, whenever you are asked the formula, if you are asked state, then you have to write the statement, and if it is a long question which carries maximum marks, then you have to write the statement, do the complete derivation, and then write the formula. Okay, what you get after derivation. Then you even have to write the units, the value of G, and then you have to make the diagram itself also. So this would give you complete marks. Now this gives you the formula, or the formula for force of gravity whenever you have one object to be your earth. Now you will be dealing with applications or uses of, better to write applications here. We'll see applications of the universal law of gravitation. Okay, so the first application or the first use, that universal law of gravitation, after it was discovered by Newton, then it solved many of the doubts or many of the problems which were still left unanswered. That is, the concepts which were not answered, they got an answer or a solution after the discovery of this universal law of gravitation. So the first one was, it explains this phenomena, this law is able to explain the movement or rotation. I'll write movement because revolution is the term used for movement of planets around the sun. So we'll write, it explains the motion of planets around the sun. Okay, because previously we didn't know that why the planets revolve around the sun. But after the discovery of this gravitational force, that is, this gravitational force is present everywhere in the universe, our whole universe, either you consider anything inside the earth or outside the earth in the outer space, everything belongs to the universe. So in the universe, this law of gravitation is applicable, and hence it is known as universal law. So what happened is, you know that, let us consider you have sun here, and then you have revolution of different planets around the sun. So you have different planets, Mercury, Venus, and then you have Earth, Mars, etc. So now we didn't know the reason why these planets revolve in the fixed orbits or fixed circular elliptical paths around the sun. Then the reason was clarified after this law, that every two objects, we have one object to be sun and the next object to be our planet Mercury. So between these two objects, between sun and Mercury, you have a force which is called gravitational force. And because of this gravitational force, the sun pulls the Mercury towards itself, and Mercury also exhibits a gravitational force by which it pulls the sun towards itself. And as a result of the different magnitude of these forces, the Mercury remains in a fixed, that is, it revolves in a fixed path around the sun. Okay, so you should know that this universal law of gravitation, it is able to explain the motion of planets around the sun. Then it is also helpful to explain motion of moon around the earth, motion of moon around our planet Earth. And then it also explains the reason behind formation of tides. So these are some of the application. It is even given in your books. You can see it from there itself. So these were, I just explained you in brief how this law explains all the concepts. Okay, so I hope you understood that any two objects present in the universe, they apply a force on each other, and because of which the moon revolves around our planet Earth. The different planets revolve around the sun. So for all these reasons, the answer is universal law of gravitation. Now we'll be moving to a new topic, and that is again very important. It is free fall. Okay, so what do you understand by the term free fall? Free fall, yes, you can know it from the name of the concept itself. You'll say that I always say anything you can know by the name of the concept itself, but it is so. See, free fall. Free fall means to fall down, probably, and freely it means whenever an object, consider this stylus, okay, this pen marker, and whenever it falls, then it falls on my hand. So any object which falls down, this is called as free fall. And for free fall, you have to remember just one condition, or I'll write its definition. Free fall means when an object falls freely towards the ground, or you can even write towards the earth. When an object falls freely towards the ground only under the influence of gravitational force, and this gravitational force is applied by what? It is applied by the earth. And the gravitational force which is applied by the earth, it can also be called as gravity, correct? So you can even call it to be the gravity pull or the gravity force of earth. Now this definition till here, it tells you the meaning of the word free fall, but it is still incomplete. Let's see, when an object falls freely, whenever an object falls freely towards the ground or towards the earth, only under the influence of gravitational force. The word only here is very important. That is, free fall means the object is falling freely and we are considering only one kind of force which is present, which is the gravity of the earth. So whenever an object falls freely from a height to the earth, then it falls down. Why? Because the gravitational force, the gravity of earth is attracting everything towards itself. So we say this condition to be free fall, but for examination point of view, you have to say that we know if you take a sheet of paper, okay, and you take the crumbled ball, you crumble the paper and you make a paper ball. Now tell me, the sheet of the paper and the crumbled ball, will they both fall at the same time on the ground? If we are taking here a sheet of paper and then one more same kind of paper you take and you make a crumbled ball out of it. So this is the crumbled ball of this paper. So I tell you, I am having both these objects and I am dropping the objects from the same height. So I want to know that will both objects land on the ground at the same time? The answer is definitely no. The sheet of paper will land on the ground very late compared to the crumbled ball of the paper. If this ball reaches the ground in 10 seconds, then the sheet might reach the ground in 40 to 50 seconds. Because this sheet of paper will float in the air and air will act upon this sheet and hence it would come slowly to the ground. Whereas this crumbled ball comes at an instant to the ground. Okay? So we say that these both are free falling. Because I told you free fall is what? When any object falls under the on the ground and due to gravity. So this condition will not be called as free fall, because here one force is also present, which is called air resistance. Because the surface area of the sheet of paper is very high, then air resistance act upon the sheet from every possible direction. But because the surface area of this crumbled ball, it is very low, so low amount or less amount of air resistance can act on the ball, and this air resistance, what it is doing, it is pushing the objects upwards. Okay, so here in this case you have two kinds of forces on the objects. One force is the gravity, or you can call it the gravitational pull of the earth, which is pulling the objects down. Gravity, it pulls the objects downwards. And then you have a second kind of force which is acting here on the object, and this force is called air resistance. And this air resistance is doing what? It is pushing the objects upwards. So more is this air resistance, you can also see this air resistance, it is directly proportional to the surface area of the object. More is the surface area of the object, more the object is in a spreaded form, more air resistance it will get. So because compared to the crumbled ball, the sheet of the paper has a larger surface area, then this sheet of paper experiences air resistance in a higher amount. Okay? These all upward arrows signify air resistance. So it experiences air resistance in a higher amount compared to the ball itself, the same ball made out of this paper, and hence this takes time to come down, whereas the crumbled ball comes down at that same moment or the same instant. So this is the reason. I hope you understood why I am explaining all these terms with an example. I can directly write out the definition, but I want you all to learn the concepts. Okay, so I told you in the starting that this definition is incomplete. Now let's complete our definition. So free fall would be when an object falls freely. I told you only under the influence of gravity, and here gravitational force by earth. So we can write here the air resistance. I hope you understand now what do you mean by the term air resistance. The upward force applied by air to keep the objects floating. So here the air resistance is considered to be negligible. Negligible means which is approximately equal to 0. So free fall would be the condition whenever any object is falling under the effect of gravitational force, but the air resistance should be 0 or it should be negligible. So this is the complete and the correct definition what you have for free fall. And I tried to explain you the concept, because if I had directly written all the complete definition, then you might have learned and then you can forget it in exams, that you might have forgot to write air resistance should be negligible. And then you would ask, so what? If I have not written this line, I have written in turn the complete definition, so I'll be getting the same marks or maximum marks. But no, now I hope you have known the concept. So this gives you a complete definition of free fall. Now moving about some facts which are related to free fall. We see that whenever any object undergoes free fall, whenever any object it freely falls or it undergoes the phenomena of free fall, then the velocity of the object increases due to the presence of an external unbalanced force, or you can write an external force which is gravity here. So whenever an object undergoes free fall, then the velocity of the object increases due to the presence of an external force. The external force is gravity. So these we are discussing the outcomes or the facts about free fall. You should know the definition. Then you have that whenever the object undergoes free fall, the velocity of the object will change or increase. Yes, it is true. Whenever the object comes from a height towards the ground, the speed or the velocity of the object keeps increasing. Here I am using the term velocity, okay? So the velocity increases. Now you know that rate of change of velocity or the increase or decrease, change is either increase or decrease. So this gives you a change in velocity, and the change in velocity in a particular time. The time is the time required the object to fall from the height to the ground. In that you require a time t. So here we can write, because the velocity is changing, this rate of change of velocity gives you what? Definitely correct, acceleration. So we can hence say that, we can say during free fall condition, an object undergoes acceleration. During the condition of free fall, the object undergoes an acceleration. And now you know acceleration is what? Rate of change of velocity. So this acceleration, okay, if I say why this acceleration is being here, why acceleration is being produced? So acceleration is produced because the velocity is changing. Then what factor is responsible for the change in velocity? Why the velocity of the object is changing? So the factor or the agent which is responsible for changing the velocity is the external force. Because there is a kind of force which is applied on the objects, therefore the velocity is changing, or you can say therefore it is undergoing acceleration. So the external agent is gravity of Earth. So we can say that this acceleration is produced due to the gravity of Earth. Okay, the agent or the factor responsible for acceleration is the gravity force or the gravity pull of Earth. So the gravity of the Earth is responsible for producing acceleration. And this acceleration which is produced due to the gravity force of Earth is given a new name, a new term comes here, and this is called acceleration due to gravity. So here you can see a new term which is acceleration due to gravity. And this acceleration due to gravity is represented by, or you can say it is denoted by, the letter small g. So small g is used to denote the value of acceleration due to gravity. And now I hope you understood what do you mean by acceleration due to gravity. I explained you whole concept, okay? And generally the acceleration is represented by the symbol a, but here the acceleration due to gravity is represented by the symbol small g. The next point about acceleration due to gravity, I told you the symbol of representation. The next point is SI unit of small g, which is acceleration due to gravity, is same as the linear acceleration or the normal acceleration. Okay, linear or normal acceleration, which is a. So the SI unit of acceleration was what? You read it in the chapter Motion, Force and Laws of Motion everywhere. Yes, the SI unit was meter per second square. Include the term square also. So the SI unit for acceleration was meter per second square, and this same unit is the SI unit for acceleration due to gravity, g. So the unit of g is meter per second square. So now we have discussed two quantities. One we have discussed in our earlier class. It was the universal gravitational constant represented by the term capital G, and here you have the term small g. So now many times you get a question, and why you get a question? Because many times the student remains confused. Differentiate between, what is the difference between small g and capital G? These are in fact very different terms. How can you say these are same terms? Okay, if you are cleared with your concepts in your mind, then you will probably be very easy to define these terms and write the difference. This G, it is called universal gravitation constant. Okay, this capital G we have read where? We have read this capital G in the derivation of universal law of gravitation, whereas this small g, it is known as acceleration due to gravity. Okay, a question might come in examination or not in examination, so a question can come in your minds. What is the difference between capital G and small g? So I am giving the answer to that question. Capital G is universal gravitational constant, small g is acceleration due to gravity. This capital G, the value of capital G is 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11, and the unit of capital G is what? Newton meter square per kg square. This is the unit of capital G. Whereas small g, the value of small g, we'll find it out. I'll tell you how this value came. But here for writing difference, the value of small g is 9.8, or for numericals, we also sometimes take it to be approximately 10. And I told you, if you write just the value, it is incorrect or incomplete. So the third point should be its unit. So the unit of small g, as I discussed, it is meter per second square. And this capital G comes in the formula of force, which is F equals to G m1 m2 divided by r square. So if I talk about the formula of capital G, it would be F multiplied by r square, and these would come down, that is divided by m1 and m2. So this would give you the formula of capital G. And for this small g, we'll be discussing now how this value came, how this 9.8 or 10 meter per second square comes. Okay, so now you have this difference between the terms capital G and small g. And now again we are discussing a very important concept, that is relation between capital G and small g. That is relation between universal law of universal gravitation constant with acceleration due to gravity. So now let's see with what kind of relation, which formula we have that relates both the quantities with each other. So for this we'll be saying that we are considering what you have, the magnitude of force from the universal law of gravitation. What is the formula for universal law of gravitation? It is G mass of first multiplied by mass of second divided by the square of distance. You can either take d square or r square, it's on your wish, but you have to know what do you mean by the term d or r, whatever you are using. It is the distance between both the objects. And if I say this formula comes from the universal law of gravitation. If one of the object is earth, okay, then the formula becomes what? I just started my class with this formula, that in the universal law of gravitation, if one of the object is earth, then the formula would be G capital M, which is the mass of earth, small m, which is the mass of other object, and the distance would be r square. R is the radius. So M, capital M, is the mass of earth and capital R is the radius of earth. If you do not know or have any confusion in this formula, then you can see, okay, just in this class only we discussed, so you can just go back and see the values and see the formula. So this would be, I would call this equation to be my first equation here. Okay, then what's next is, you know from the second law, from Newton's second law of motion, what was the second law? The second law is used to give the magnitude of force, okay? So from second law of motion, the value of force is F equals to ma. So this would be my second equation. Now you have two equations for finding the magnitude of force. One is according to the universal law of gravitation, the next is according to Newton's second law of motion. But both these equations gives the value of same quantity, that is, it gives the value of force. So what I can do it, I can equate both the equations equal to each other. This is F equals to the value, this is also F. So we say that if both these F are equal, then I can say Gmm upon r square is equal to ma. So now what I am doing is, I am equating means you are putting both these values with the sign of equals to in between. So equating both the equations, by equating both the equations 1 and 2, what I get is, if I equate both the equations, that means Gmm upon radius square is equals to ma. So this is what I get. This would be my third equation. And if I further solve it, you see this small m cancels from both the sides. Then you are left with Gm upon r square gives you a. And here actually we will not be using the term a, because we are calculating gravitational force. This is what? This is gravitational force. And hence we need to find the magnitude of gravitational force only. So if I write gravitational force, it means when gravity or gravitational force is applied, the acceleration is called g, small g. So here I would be taking F equals to mg in place of ma. And here also I would be getting the term g. So now you see, you got a formula which relates, that is your equation 4. It gives you a relation between the term small g and capital G. And this is what our aim was to find. So equation 4 gives you a relation between capital G and small g. Capital G, universal law, universal gravitational constant. Small g is acceleration due to gravity. Capital M is the mass of Earth, and capital R gives you the radius of Earth. And now you can also find the value of this. Okay, first I want you to just revise it, and if you have any sort of doubt, you can clear it now. And then we will be moving on how to find the value of G, that is how I wrote the value of G to be 9.8. So for finding the value of G, what you have to do is, in your books you are given the mass of Earth and the radius of Earth. The mass of Earth which is given, it is 6 into 10 raised to the power 24 kg, and the radius is 6.4 into 10 raised to the power 6. So now we are finding, you have the relation G equals to Gm upon r square. Now you have to remember these values, because if you are given calculate the value of G, you have to show the complete calculation. So now we are doing calculation, or if the question that is calculate the value of G. So how you would do this? You would say G is, value of capital G is 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. The mass of Earth is 6 into 10 raised to the power 24 kg. This is Newton meter square per kg square. And then the radius of Earth which you are given in the books, it is 6.4 into 10 raised to the power 6 meter. So these are the values of mass and radius of the Earth which are given in your books. Now if we solve this out, then the value of G would be, what I am doing, I am taking the exponent, that is the power terms, differently and writing the number 6.67 multiplied by 6 divided by 6.4, and then you have the terms 10 raised to the power minus 11, 10 raised to the power 24 and 10 raised to the power 6. Okay. So now if you solve, okay, this is what? Square. You have to do the square of radius. So it would give you 6.4 into 6.4, and whenever you, how to solve this? You have 10 to the power 6 and 2. So whenever you have any number which is power m and outside the bracket it is written n, then what you do is you do m into n. So hence you have to multiply both the numbers. So 6 into 2 would give you power 12. Now you can cancel out. Okay, this is 10 raised to the power 12. Now what I'll be getting is 6.67 multiplied by 6, 6.4 multiplied by 6.4, and here if I bring the power upside, it would be 10 raised to the power minus 12, minus 12 and 24. 24 minus 12, it gives me 12. Then I would be having power 10 raised to the power minus 11 and 10 raised to the power 12. And 12 minus 11, I hope you know how to solve the power questions. The exponent terms, this is 10 raised to the power a multiplied by b. So it would be a plus b, and minus plus would give you minus. So this would be 10 raised to the power 12 minus 11 is 1. And hence 10 to the power 1 means 10 itself. And then remove the points. When you remove both these points, you get a factor of 100. When you remove, you get a factor of 100. And then when you will solve it out, you'll get the final answer to be 9.814, and which is approximately taken as 9.8 meter per second square. So in this way, you have to calculate the value of g. Okay, you have to show the calculations, and then you have to learn these values, that is the mass and radius of Earth. Then only you will be able to do the question. So this is for today's class. In the next class, we will be seeing what is the value of small g for moon. This is the value of gravity for Earth. In the next, we will be discussing the value of g for moon. Then we will be seeing what is the relation between gravity of Earth and gravity of moon. And then we will be talking about the further topics. I hope you enjoyed today's class. You got all the concepts which I taught you. Since if you have any doubt still remaining, then you can contact us anytime. Thank you for joining the class. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.